Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jay Bir. Well, impeachment has once again grinded Washington, D.C. to a halt, with all eyes on that. But before that got underway, there were a couple of monumental trade bills that finally made their way through Congress. The first phase of the China deal and the USMCA. Here to talk about both of those, Representative from the 2nd District here in Arkansas, Representative French Hill. We appreciate you coming in here.
Sure, Jay. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get to it here. I guess we'll start with the China deal. A lot of people, phase one, so we're not all the way there yet with China, but what does this mean here getting into phase one, especially for Arkansas?
Well, first, it's good for both countries, I think, to step back from this escalating trade war that we've been having over the last 2 years. President Trump has tried to use the tariffs as a leverage to bring China to the table, and he's been successful. So first, I'd say it's good for farmers. Before they go into the next crop season, which they're financing right now, January and February, they've got more certainty on prices and markets in China and elsewhere in the world for agricultural products. Secondly, I'd say a key issue is we have to trust but verify.
Yeah.
China has agreed to things before on intellectual property and theft in the 90s during the Clinton administration, and the theft only increased. So my recommendation to the president is this is good. It's a good first step. Let's see how we do on enforcement.
So what are we really trying to look forward to here into a potential phase two? What's next for China?
Well, President Trump has left a level of tariffs on China to encourage them back to the table. And I would say it would be broader market opening for more products. In this first phase one deal, we have an intellectual property protection. We say that China is not going to force companies coming to China to take their technology or transfer their technology. And we allow 100% market opening for financial services. So I'd say a phase two deal would be twofold. One, was this deal working? Is the enforcement working? And secondly, more market opening for different kinds of industries to sell directly into China.
And I know, too, the rice was a real big thing, especially for here in Arkansas.
Yeah, this is a good deal for Arkansas. Rice, soybeans, which gets all the publicity, but it's much bigger than that. Plus, China just recently, in the last couple of weeks, dropped their blockage of imports of poultry into China due to the Asian flu issue. That's opened up. At the same time as this agreement, this will be very good for Arkansas poultry exporters. And
when can we start to see some of those effects take place here? Because, I mean, obviously, the farmers it's been a rough couple of years for them here in Arkansas. When can they really start to see those residual effects from this deal?
I think they'll see those effects early in 2020. This deal doesn't require approval by anybody. I mean, China needs to honor their commitments to buy manufactured good, American energy, American agriculture, and I think you'll see that here early in the year. But it certainly gives stability to the commodity pricing.
And bringing things closer to home here now. USMCA finally almost there, just waiting on Canada now, I believe.
That's right, waiting on Canada, which I hope will happen this spring, and then we will have a modernized North American free trade agreement. Nobody outcompetes Americans when they're given the level playing field, and the USMCA creates a better playing field in North America. I think you'll see global businesses move to Canada, the United States, and Mexico to be close to the world's largest market, which is the U.S.
Now, I guess, what is the sort of the ag boon here in the USMCA? Because you kind of put the two of these deals together, and it's a big-time agricultural impact, especially for those here in Arkansas.
Right. Well, the biggest change in agriculture in USMCA, I think, is opening Canada's dairy market. The dairy market has always been closed there, the definitions of milk. There's some other activities in ag that are good. So I would consider it a positive for American producers, but particularly dairy producers. They get a new market. Most of our commodities here that are poultry or rice, or many of our commodities go to Mexico now. I'd say it's almost status quo there, but it's the certainty. It's the certainty. The real benefits, I think, in the new USMCA are in technology and also in manufacturing, automobile manufacturing particularly. President Trump wanted more of the North American content to be produced in the U.S., and that's what this agreement will help do, particularly in automotives.
All right, let's go bigger stage here. Let's get your take here on the Middle East and the whole Iran thing. Things seem to have settled down for now, but a couple of weeks ago, what did you think of President Trump's tactics in knocking off Soleimani and all that, kind of without congressional approval. I know that sort of became a little bit of a talking point, but were you okay with going after him, even though on the surface it's like you took out a foreign government official, which would probably give some people a little pause?
Well, you can't consider him a foreign government official and create a moral equivalence between Iran with the United States or the United Kingdom or a European country. Right. This is a terror state. He was a terrorist as designated by the Obama administration, and the Quds Force, the Revolutionary Guard of Iran, is a terror organization. He has systematically been at the heart of killing Americans, not only in Iraq, which has gotten a lot of publicity, but it was Iran behind the Beirut bombing in 1983. This has been going on for decades through their proxy Hezbollah. They back the drama and terror in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen. They back drug cartels in Latin America. Iran is a bad actor, so I supported the president's effort. It took place in Iraq. It took place under threat of American assets and American diplomats, and so I support the effort. And what I hope we'll see now is support of the Iranian people to press their government for changes. You saw them go back into the streets, and you saw the Iranians use Russian anti-ballistic missile technology bought with money freed up by the Iran JCPOA deal in the Obama administration. That was a Russian missile that shot down that Ukrainian aircraft, and it was good to see the Iranian people back in the streets saying, we want transparency. And we want the Iranians to be able to have a country that's part of the family of nations. So President Trump wants them back at the negotiating table. He is not looking for war with Iran. I thought that aspect of the story, Jay, got extremely blown out of proportion and was really exaggerated.
Well, and I think, too, you know, there was kind of a tit for tat, and then Trump actually kind of backed off. Not that that second strike was a whole lot. I think a lot of people said it was more for propaganda purposes, at least on the Iranian side of things. But now, now that I guess we kind of see calmer heads are now prevailing here, that they've upped the sanctions on that. Do you really think going forward here that a lot of that stuff will kind of get Iran to the bargaining table? I do.
Let me tell you why. President Trump showed him a lot of restraint this year. We had an American drone shot down. We had Persian Gulf shipping interdicted, Norwegian vessels, Japanese vessels. We had the Saudi Arabian terminal bombed, all by Soleimani and his Revolutionary Guard assets. We had other killings in the area. We had the unrest and attempted takeover in the Iraqi government by Revolutionary Guards. So President Trump's actually shown restraint when this kind of ramp up. What the Iranians were trying to do is pressure the Europeans not to support the Trump position on the Iranian deal, the JCPOA. And if you noted, after the Soleimani death and the position of Iran, our European allies have now said, yes, Iran has broken the JCPOA. They were not obeying it before. They were not obeying it even when the United States pulled out. So that pressure campaign they operated on, which was a campaign of terror, did not work. So we have now in the position for snapback sanctions under the JCPOA to start. I think that hopefully will bring the Iranians to the table because we have European and Americans on the same page.
And we'll kind of switch gears here. Let's get to some good news here. I know you're presenting some legislation to honor Scipio Jones here in Arkansas. What do you got going on with that?
Yeah, Scipio Jones was probably the most important attorney of the early 20th century. It was Scipio Jones, African-American attorney here in Arkansas, that defended the trumped-up charges, the 12 defendants in the Elaine massacre that we commemorated the horrors of last year in 1919. But Scipio Jones went on in that effort to create a major step in American jurisprudence in the Dempsey case, where the federal government could review local state trial court decisions, and that was a major change. So we're honoring him by having his portrait presented in the Scipio Jones post office here in Little Rock on South Main Street, and I look forward to working on that with my colleagues.
There you go. So we got to mix in a little good news here from the Hill here.
Thank you, Jay. Great to see you.
We appreciate you coming in here anytime. All right. Arkansas executed Liddell Lee almost 3 years ago, but the case may not be closed. We talked to one of the lawyers on the case. When we come back, you are watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
The
The invasion has begun. Bugs are on the move, and so are we. Mid-State Termite and Pest Control. Put our 30 years of experience on your side. We're honest, we're dependable, and we get the job done. Mid-State Termite and Pest Control. When you call, we step on it.
It's the final days of the Epic Sell-Off at Furniture Row. And when we say it's epic, we mean epic. Shop today and find incredible savings store-wide. That means epic savings on sofas, sectionals, and accent chairs. Epic markdowns on dining groups, tables, and bar stools. Epic deals on bed sets, dressers, mattresses, and adjustable bases. Plus, make your money work for you and get 4 years no interest. Epic styles, epic selection, all with epic savings. Only at Furniture Row. But hurry, sale ends soon.
Hi, I'm Missy Gibson. My family and I would like to invite you to see all that John Gibson Auto Sales has to offer. We have one of the largest, most diverse, and newest inventory of any buy here, pay here dealers in the state. We have cars, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles, ATVs, campers, performance trailers, and boats. Whether you have good credit, bad credit, or no credit, we will finance you. Check us out at johngibsonautosales.com and we will have your purchase ready when you get here.
My name is John and I'm a retired veteran. Years ago I suffered a back injury that left me partially paralyzed. Emergency surgery fixed that, but it didn't stop the pain. I needed help and Arkansas Spine and Pain was there. They treated me like a person, not just a patient. I needed actual relief and they knew it. I remember waking up one day not in pain. It was the first time in years. I couldn't remember the last time I didn't hurt. So I just laid in bed for a few more minutes and soaked it all in. Arkansas Spine and Pain, they helped me get my life back ASAP.
Not all news has to be bad. We want to share the good in our communities, telling stories of love, happiness, triumph over tragedy. So join us Fridays at 5 and let's share a smile.
Good News Matters on KARK, sponsored by MNV. You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. Almost 3 years ago, the state of Arkansas executed Liddell Lee. He was sentenced to death for the 1993 murder of a Jacksonville woman. And since 2017, attorneys with the Innocence Project and ACLU have been looking into the case. On Thursday, they filed a lawsuit on behalf of Lee's sister, asking for DNA evidence to be released by the city of Jacksonville so it can be tested. The attorneys claim this evidence would exonerate him. Stephanie Sharp was at the press conference where the details were released.
Lee always insisted that he did not commit this crime and that he was innocent.
Patricia Young stands with her sister. Their brother is Liddell Lee. He was convicted for a 1993 murder in Jacksonville and executed in 2017.
We just want to know the truth.
ACLU and Innocence Project have been looking into the case for years, since right before Lee's death.
Over the last 2.5 years, we have conducted some of the investigation that should have been done before his execution and indeed before his trial.
They say DNA and fingerprints that do not match Lee's were found at the crime scene. Thursday, they filed a lawsuit on behalf of Young, asking Jacksonville to allow the evidence be run through a national database for the first time.
Ms. Young has a simple request: to be allowed to do the scientific testing that her brother never got while he was alive.
The Jacksonville city attorney sent an email to the mayor and the city council regarding the lawsuit. It says in part, under current state statutes and case law, the city is prevented from releasing DNA physical evidence. Lee's DNA physical evidence is not public record and not open to public inspection. However, ACLU and the Innocence Project hope this evidence will answer questions for Lee's family.
Whatever the public may think about whether Liddell Lee is innocent, is guilty, they don't know, they don't have an opinion. Everyone should want the truth for the truth's sake.
And according to FOIA laws, the city of Jacksonville must respond within 7 days of receiving the lawsuit. The attorneys representing Liddell Lee's sister have asked for an official hearing. And here to talk about this case, John Toll. I guess, John, I guess a lot of people would wonder, why now? Why bother? It seems like case closed. What are we trying to look into here?
Well, what we're trying to look into is finding out the truth as to whether an innocent person was executed. And the whole purpose of the Freedom of Information Act is it's a Sunshine Act. Mm-hmm. It's to let the sun shine on the acts of our public officials and how our tax dollars are spent. And so I can't think of anything more pertinent to sunshine than to find out whether the state was wrong in whether an innocent person was executed.
Now, it seems like, too, that you guys were having some conversations with the city of Jacksonville on kind of getting some of that stuff figured out, and then it just seems like everything came to a halt. Sort of what happened with some of that?
So I don't have firsthand knowledge of that. I'm a local attorney, and I have worked with Freedom of Information regularly, and I'm honored to be working with the Innocence Project. My understanding is that the Innocence Project had negotiated, had talked with the city attorney for the city of Jacksonville, had talked to the then chief of police with the city of Jacksonville, and the Innocence Project and I and everyone involved was very hopeful that the city was going to run the fingerprints analysis and to release the evidence, and then it just hit a stone wall, and we felt at that point that we had no choice but to file the lawsuit.
I guess in your opinion, what's the stonewalling about? I mean, it seems like I said earlier, case closed. I mean, kind of what's the harm in it other than maybe something might come to light, like you said?
Exactly, Jay. I mean, that's just the initial obvious reaction for most anybody is, what's the harm? Let's find out the truth. I have no idea. I know that the city attorney expressed that they were prevented from providing the evidence because there's a statute where they had to keep it. First, that doesn't restrict in any way the city of Jacksonville from going ahead and running the fingerprint analysis.
Right.
There's no reason. They have the fingerprints. You can run it in the database. Nothing is destroyed. With respect to the destruction, that also is a bit of a red herring because there's already been a conviction. Liddell Lee has been executed, and the provision that the city attorney is referencing actually provides that whichever department is keeping the evidence can petition to destroy it or to return it to the original owners. So there's no reason at this point not to allow.
Is there any kind of precedence for this type of case? Because I know this one seems a little outside the box to begin with, considering, you know, it's case closed already. We've already had an execution and everything, and now to kind of exonerate somebody sort of posthumously, is there any kind of precedent set with this?
So the Innocence Project has worked in the past to try and obtain similar DNA evidence. This is, to my knowledge, is the first time that we've used the Freedom of Information Act to attempt to do it. As you know, Arkansas has a strong Freedom of Information Act, and it is viewed and interpreted broadly by our courts, and so we're very hopeful. We believe that it certainly fits with the intent of the act, which is to allow the public to see what actions have been taken and how our public officials have performed.
Have you seen anything like this before, where things are case closed, sentences have been carried out, and then, you know, the file still seems to be kind of under lock and key?
So there was a case several years ago in Arkansas. You may recall that there was actually brought through the Freedom of Information, and that was a claim of there was a claim that it was an ongoing investigation, even though the case was like 28 years ago. But that's the only similar Arkansas case I can think of, but that was different because the exemption that was being claimed to FOIA was an ongoing investigation. That obviously is not applicable here because there was a conviction and an execution.
Well, it's an interesting story that we're definitely going to have to certainly keep up with, and we'll hope to maybe bring you back in as this sort of thing unfolds.
Sure.
All right, we appreciate the time there, boss, here.
Thank you.
All right. We've got more Capitol View coming up. You're watching Sunday Morning.
Enjoy a new experience in shopping for your home. At Aladdin Rugs and Home Decor, we have over 5,000 rugs in the latest colors and styles. Bring your pillows, your pillow shams, and sizes. We will help you select the perfect rug. We're #1 in customer service with 15,000 square feet of rugs, unique home decor, wallpaper, and flooring. Remember, buy today, take it home today, and save. Why wait?
Friendship Community Care offers a wide array of services for individuals with developmental disabilities and behavioral health needs. Our statewide community waiver support services includes assisting with independent living skills, medication adherence, transportation, and much more. Friendship also offers school-based and outpatient counseling to address behavioral and mental health needs that include individual and family therapy, as well as our 5-day-a-week adult day program. Friendship Community Care, putting it all together.
Go to that.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Dad! Okay, here we go, throw it! Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Nice.
Listen up. In 2016, a New Mexico House seat was decided by only 2 votes out of almost 14,000.
In 2010, a state house race in Vermont was determined by 1 vote.
In 2002, a Connecticut House seat was determined by just 1 vote out of more than 6,000.
In 1994, a Wyoming state house seat vote ended in a tie. The winner, chosen at random, went on to become Speaker of the State House.
Your voice matters. Use it.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back into Capitol View. President Trump addresses the annual March for Life rally in Washington, D.C. on Friday. He is the first U.S. president to speak in person at the event. Joining us now, Aaron Perini, Trump 2020 Deputy Communications Director. Aaron, we thank you for joining us here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's actually get into that. What kind of went into that decision for President Trump to actually be the first sitting president to want to address the March of Life?
Well, it's pretty simple for President Trump. Obviously, there are a lot of things that go into his schedule logistically, but just on the basis of his history as the most pro-life president ever, I know he's been eager to address the crowd in person. This year, it actually managed to work out with his trip back from Davos, and so he's really excited to stand in front of that huge crowd on the National Mall today and defend life, defend the sanctity of life. This is something he's been really wanting to do, and I know he's really looking forward to today's speech.
Kind of piggybacking off this concept here, pro-life, I know President Trump really going to try to address the issue with California having to force, or California is requiring insurance to pay for abortions here. I know he was real big on that. What's kind of that situation going forward here? Because I know that's kind of a sticking point. You kind of get into the states' rights, federal rights kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really more of a question for the White House, as that would be a litigation-type dispute with them going through the court system. But when it comes to the court system in the United States, especially when you look at the federal circuit courts that exist out on the West Coast now, specifically the Ninth Circuit Court, that court is leaning more conservative now in their rulings because of President Trump's work on judicial nominations and on getting them cleared through the Senate. So you are going to see in the long run that perhaps generations down the road, that if you see these kind of lawsuits, this kind of litigation that could come up, that there is a more conservative tone to the courts in the United States to uphold the sanctity of life, thanks to President Trump.
I know a lot of people are kind of, I don't want to say bashing, but it seems sort of an ironic point that the Susan B. Anthony Political Action Group really putting their support behind Trump. A lot of big-time dollars here, and then it kind of coincides with Trump being that first sitting president. Was this something with the March for Life? Was this planned from the jump, or is this sort of kind of just a good coincidence here?
Well, like I said, the president has been very eager to be able to address this crowd. A lot of things go into his schedule that are both seen and unseen by the public in terms of what he can or cannot make happen. This year, he was able to make it happen. The first sitting president ever in the United States to be able to address the crowd of pro-life Americans who support the unborn in this country. No president has ever done more to support the unborn in the United States. So President Trump is going to make history today, making those remarks on the National Mall, and I can assure you it'll be a speech for the books.
Absolutely here. And I guess, too, what does this actually mean for him to be the first sitting president to be able to address the March of Life?
Well, the pro-life community and the facts stand. Everybody knows that President Trump is the most pro-life president, removing Title X funding from Planned Parenthood, removing the Mexico City policy that allowed for taxpayer funding of abortion in foreign countries. President Trump has put forth conservative judicial nominations for circuit and federal court levels to uphold the sanctity of life. So to see the most pro-life president ever be able to address this massive pro-life crowd in the United States, it's something that rarely gets covered at a huge national level, is the March for Life. But having the president be able to be there in person is really going to help shine light on that, put more eyes on really how pro-life Americans are and how much they value the sanctity of life in this country. And they've got a champion in President Trump to help defend those values.
Absolutely here. Aaron Perini joining us from the Trump-Pence studios. Aaron, we appreciate the time. Hope to do it again soon.
Thank you. I would love to.
All right, you bet. And we are back to wrap it up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
This is the Olympics of ninja competitions.
Team USA is going to flex on the world.
The defending champions.
We're going back-to-back.
American Ninja Warrior, USA versus the world. Tonight on NBC.
This is on another level.
Do not try this at home.
AGT The Champions, Monday on NBC.
Want a car buying experience that's a little different? Then shop Riser Harness Ford, your hometown dealer. We're a different kind of dealer with a different kind of approach. No hassles, no gimmicks, just good, honest folks giving you good, honest car deals. We've got a great selection of new Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, one for every budget, plus a great pre-owned selection. So when you need a new vehicle, the difference is Riser Harness Ford. Come see us today on Race Street in Searcy or online at riserharnessford.com. You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And we thank you for watching Capitol View. That is it for today's show. We're back next week with an all-new version. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.